Claire stood at the crowded family reunion, watching more than 50 relatives gather around long plastic tables that wobbled even when pushed flat. Children sprinted in circles with juice boxes while adults grew louder as the sun dropped and the boxed wine emptied. She had spent 3 long days hauling coolers, grilling burgers, and filling in when the assigned person bailed. She held a warm soda she no longer wanted, feeling invisible despite all the work she had done. Then she saw her father climb onto a wooden bench, 3 drinks deep and swaying proudly. That moment marked the beginning of everything that followed. Her father clinked a fork against his glass until the backyard quieted, wearing the loose grin he always had when he believed he was charming. Phones came out instantly, everyone ready to record another family moment. Claire watched her brother Brian cross his arms proudly like he expected another round of praise. Her sister Nina flipped her hair and posed for someone's camera, smiling as if the whole world adored her. Claire stayed still, hoping the speech would be harmless this time. Then her father grabbed her shoulder and pulled her into the center. "And this one right here," he boomed, "is our little miracle. Well, more like our accident." Laughter crashed through the backyard as if someone had turned on a speaker. Her aunt clapped wildly, delighted by the joke. Brian snorted into his drink while Nina giggled behind her phone, recording the moment like it was entertainment. Claire kept her smile frozen even as her chest tightened. Her father continued loudly, "Yep, the oops baby. The mistake we decided to keep." More laughter erupted, shaking the tables. Claire looked around and saw only her cousin Amy mouth a silent, "I'm sorry." Nobody else cared. Her father pushed the joke even further, saying, "At least she didn't end up in prison or living in our basement. I'd call that a parenting win." People howled again and someone filmed the whole thing with the red recording light blinking right at Claire. It hit her all at once that nothing she had accomplished had ever changed her role in this family. She was still the footnote, the afterthought, the unexpected child they used for laughs. Claire stepped backwards slowly, unnoticed by everyone. Her father had already moved on to bragging about Brian's promotion. She placed her soda on the nearest table and walked quietly into the house. Upstairs, Claire sat on the edge of the guest bed, listening to laughter drifting through the open window as music started near the fire pit. The party went on without her like she had never been there at all. That was when the truth settled into her chest with a weight she couldn't ignore. She remembered Brian's expensive graduation celebration and Nina's fully funded trip to Italy, while she received lectures for asking for textbook money. They had never seen her as equal no matter how hard she tried. When she checked her bank app and saw her savings, she realized she could walk away permanently. Claire stood, grabbed her charger and wallet and walked downstairs without looking back. The reunion was still roaring, everyone laughing, eating, and taking pictures like nothing had happened. Not one person noticed her moving across the yard toward her car. "Claire, you leaving already?" someone called, but it wasn't even directed at her. It was meant for someone behind her. She unlocked her car, slid inside, and started the engine with steady hands. She didn't wave, didn't call out, didn't explain. She simply drove away until the house disappeared in the rearview mirror. By the time Claire crossed the state line, she already knew she wasn't going back. She drove through endless stretches of open sky and quiet roads, feeling the weight around her chest slowly lift. Somewhere in Wyoming, she pulled into a rest stop and stared at the horizon for a long moment. "Portland," she whispered, choosing the name out loud as if speaking it made the decision real. She counted her savings again, 10,000 total between checking and savings. Enough to start over if she lived carefully. Enough to disappear. When Claire reached Portland, she rented a tiny studio apartment in Southeast for $1,200 a month and paid 3 months up front. The first thing she did was erase herself, deleted every social media account, changed her number, created a new email, and updated her professional identity to C. Bennett so searches wouldn't reveal her past. Then she focused on work. She had a license in commercial drone operation and aerial photography, something she'd always been good at even when her family mocked it. She built a simple website and sent dozens of cold emails. Within 3 days, someone responded needing aerial footage. Claire delivered the project for $500 and the client paid without hesitation. Word spread quickly and more calls came in. Within 4 months, her schedule was full and she was earning enough to cover rent, groceries, and more. She found a co-working space downtown and rented a small desk to feel less alone. That was where she met Kate, the woman with band t-shirts under blazers and a warm smile that made conversations easy. Kate worked as an HR consultant, and she was the first person who didn't treat Claire like a joke. "Dinner sometime?" Claire finally asked. Kate said yes. 2 years passed with steady work, steady peace, and a steady relationship. But some nights, Claire still woke at 3 a.m. hearing echoes of her family laughing at her. One Wednesday morning, she stepped outside her apartment and froze when she saw a man in khakis standing beside a sedan. He looked straight at her. "Claire Bennett." She nodded cautiously. He handed her a manila envelope and said, "You've been served," before getting back into his car and driving away. Claire stood on the sidewalk, heart steady, already knowing what this meant. Her family had found her. Claire went back inside and opened the envelope at her kitchen table. Inside were legal papers from a law firm in Ohio, describing a petition to restructure the family trust. They claimed she was unreachable and needed to be removed as a beneficiary. There was also a letter from Brian, cold and fake. "Claire, we've tried to reach you for 2 years. Dad's health is declining and we need to finalize the trust." Claire read it twice, jaw tight but hands steady. She reached for her phone and knew exactly who she needed to call. Her lawyer's name was Jennifer Park, a corporate attorney she had met months earlier at a networking event. Claire had kept Jennifer's card without really thinking she would ever need it. But now she sat in Jennifer's office with the envelope spread across the desk. Jennifer read in silence, flipping through each page with sharp eyes. "They're trying to build an unreachability case," she said finally. "Classic play. If we move quickly, they can't win." Claire nodded. "Then let's move fast." Jennifer drafted a response within 24 hours and sent it certified. The letter stated clearly that Claire was represented by counsel, reachable, and requesting full trust documentation. It also stated that all future communication must go through Jennifer's office. That alone forced the judge to delay the hearing, killing Brian's rush strategy. 2 days later, Claire's phone lit with unknown numbers. Somehow her family had already found her new line, likely through a skip trace. She let every call go to voicemail. The messages came one after another. "Claire, seriously? Dad is sick. Stop hiding behind a lawyer," Brian said, his voice tight and annoyed. Nina left a crying message claiming the situation was tearing Mom apart, but Claire deleted it without listening fully. Then the harassment escalated. Her biggest client, Marcus, called her into his office. "I got a call from someone claiming to be your brother," he said carefully. "He asked if we'd noticed any unstable behavior from you." Claire felt heat rise in her chest but kept her voice level. "He's lying," she said. "Family issues, nothing medical." Marcus nodded slowly and returned her lawyer's card. "I already told him we don't discuss contractors with outsiders, but I wanted you to know." Claire thanked him and left the office with her jaw tight but her steps steady. That same afternoon, 2 more clients contacted her with similar stories of concerned family members. One client ghosted. Another hesitated before agreeing to continue working with her. Claire forwarded everything to Jennifer, who called it a documented harassment pattern. Claire felt something inside her harden. Her family wanted to break her stability. She wouldn't let them. 3 days later, Claire was locked out of her bank account after 7 password reset attempts traced back to Ohio. She restored access, added new security layers, changed every password and set verbal authorization rules. Then her car was broken into, glove box emptied, trunk open but nothing taken. The officer shrugged. "No cameras, no fingerprints. Looks like someone was searching for something." Claire closed the door quietly after he left. She changed her locks, installed a dash cam, and added a security camera inside her apartment. Then Jennifer sent a formal cease and desist to her family. That night, Claire sat on her couch staring at her laptop when Kate walked in. "What's going on?" Kate asked gently. Claire told her everything. Reunion, humiliation, escape, legal threats, harassment, break-ins. Kate listened without interrupting once. When Claire finished, Kate took a deep breath. "So what's your next step?" Claire's voice was steady. "They want me unstable on paper," she said. "So I go back. But on my terms." Kate nodded. "Then we start preparing now." The 2 women dove into public records for hours. They found Hartwell Manufacturing listed as the family business, founded by Claire's grandfather, expanded by her father and now operationally controlled by Brian. They found investor notes, declining numbers and late filings. "They're bleeding money," Kate said, tracing a finger down a revenue chart. "Brian's definitely hiding something." Claire nodded. "If I go back, they'll try to paint me as the problem." Kate looked at her and said, "Then you show up as the solution." Something inside Claire clicked into place. Jennifer filed a formal discovery request for the full trust documents. 3 weeks later, Hartwell's lawyers folded and sent everything. Claire sat across from Jennifer as she flipped through the pages. "They can't remove you unless you renounce your claim or stay unreachable for 6 months, Jennifer explained. "They have none of that. Legally, you're safe." But Claire wasn't finished. She reached out to Greg, an operations manager she remembered from her teenage summers working at the factory. His reply came fast. "You have no idea how bad things are under Brian." They moved to secure encrypted chat, and Greg sent documents that stunned Claire. Ignored safety reports, missed deadlines, resignation letters, vendor complaints, financial inconsistencies, everything pointing to Brian's incompetence. Greg hesitated before sending the rest. "If this traces back to me, I'm done," he warned. Claire promised everything would go through her attorney. When the files came through, she forwarded them to Jennifer. "This is enough to remove him from the boardroom," Jennifer said. Claire nodded slowly. "Good," she replied. "Because I'm going home." But there was still one narrative Claire needed to destroy. The idea that she was a wandering, unstable runaway. Kate ended that in one sentence. They were sitting in Kate's apartment when she said, "If we're doing this, we do it completely." Claire frowned. "Meaning what?" Kate folded her arms. "Meaning we get married before you go back. Brian's whole story depends on you being alone and unstable. You show up with a wife who works in HR? That story dies instantly." Claire blinked, then laughed as relief washed over her. "We were going to do it anyway," Kate added softly. They married 2 weeks later at the courthouse, just the two of them and 2 friendly witnesses Kate knew from work. No dramatic vows, no family, no cameras. Only something real in theirs. It was the opposite of everything Claire grew up with. Kate took charge of logistics, organizing timelines and documents. Jennifer prepared the legal wall. Claire focused on what she knew best, building a structured plan. Together, they created a 40-page proposal outlining how to repair Hartwell Manufacturing from the ground up. Claire's proposal covered everything: modernization, cost analysis, vendor recovery, employee retention, safety compliance, workflow efficiency, and a 3-year operational roadmap. It was clean, professional, and impossible to dismiss. When she read the final draft, Kate smiled. "This feels like a real takeover plan," she said. Claire nodded. "It's not a takeover. It's a correction." Jennifer mailed the formal letter to Hartwell's board, announcing Claire's intent to meet regarding the trust, the restructuring, and her potential involvement in operations. Brian called Jennifer's office within 90 minutes, furious. "He needs to stop being dramatic and come home like a normal person," Brian snapped over the phone. Jennifer's answer was calm and sharp. "Claire will meet under the terms outlined in her letter. If those terms aren't acceptable, we'll see you in court." That shut him up quickly. 3 days later, Hartwell sent the operational documents Claire requested. She and Kate spent a week reviewing everything. The deeper they went, the more obvious the truth became. Brian had been lying for years. Revenue wasn't just down 22%. It was down 28%. Employee turnover wasn't 43%. It was 51%. Vendors complained about unpaid invoices, disrespectful communication, and broken agreements. Safety inspection failures were buried under clerical errors. The board minutes showed growing frustration but no action because Brian was the owner's son. "They're waiting for someone to give them permission to act," Kate said. Claire exhaled slowly. "Then I'll be that someone." 1 week before their Ohio trip, Claire received an email from Nina with the subject line, "Can we talk?" Claire didn't trust it. She showed it to Kate, who studied the screen for a long moment. "Could be a trap," Kate said. "Probably is," Claire replied. Still, they agreed to a meeting in a public place. Claire insisted Kate come with her. They chose a Starbucks downtown. Neutral, visible, no chance of surprises. When they arrived, Nina was already inside, thinner and more anxious than Claire remembered. She hesitated when she saw Kate. "Who's this?" she asked. "My wife," Claire replied calmly. Nina blinked fast, surprised. Claire sat down and asked, "What do you want?" Nina leaned forward, lowering her voice. "I wanted to warn you. Brian's planning something for the board meeting. He had Dad sign papers." Kate cut her off. "Is Brian outside right now?" Nina's eyes flickered. That was all the confirmation they needed. Kate pulled out her phone and showed Nina a photo she had just taken. Brian's sedan parked outside with tinted windows. "You're wired," Kate said, voice sharp. "Or you're here to get Claire to say something on record. Which is it?" Nina's face crumpled. "I'm not. I swear I was trying to help." Claire stood up slowly. "No, Nina. You're protecting yourself. That's what you always do." Nina reached out, desperate. "Claire, please, wait." But Claire walked out with Kate, already sending a message to Jennifer documenting the attempted setup. Later that night, Jennifer called. "This is good," she said. "A sloppy attempt like that strengthens our case. If they keep contacting you directly, I'll file for a protective order." Claire listened quietly, feeling something inside her settle into place. She had expected the trap. She had expected the lies. But now she had proof that the desperation was on the other side. 2 days later, her cousin Amy sent a video file to Kate's inbox, the reunion recording. Claire watched herself on screen as her father dragged her forward, heard the crowd roar with laughter, saw herself standing frozen. This time she didn't cry. She saved the file in 3 places. Friday morning arrived, the day she would face her family again. Claire put on a dark gray suit, the first time she had worn one in years. Kate wore a black blazer and carried the leather folder of documents they had assembled. Their first stop wasn't the company. It was the hospital. Claire walked into her father's room without knocking. He looked smaller, thinner, older than she remembered, propped up by pillows and startled by her presence. "Don't talk," Claire said quietly. "Just listen." Claire sat beside her father's hospital bed, watching him struggle to sit upright. His eyes widened as if he wanted to speak, but she raised a hand. "You and Brian tried to erase me legally," she said calmly. "I'm only here because I won't let you rewrite the trust after what happened at that reunion." His fingers twitched against the blanket, but he stayed silent. "I'm going to fix the company Brian destroyed," she continued. "And when this is over, you'll understand exactly what you threw away when you called me a mistake." She stood up without waiting for his response. Claire and Kate drove next to the family house, the same place Claire grew up hearing whispers about being the extra child. She rang the doorbell instead of using the old key she still carried. Brian opened the door, looking older and more stressed than Claire remembered. "Where's the documentation I asked for?" Claire asked immediately. He tried to smile. "Come on, let's talk first, like normal people." Claire stepped past him. "No. Show me the paperwork." He hesitated but eventually led her into their father's old office. The office looked like a disaster. Papers everywhere, coffee rings staining old reports, files stacked in lopsided towers. This was Brian's workspace now, chaotic and careless. Claire began photographing everything: financial statements, vendor complaints, invoices, and resignation letters. "You can't do that," Brian said sharply. "I can," Claire replied. "I'm a beneficiary of the trust. I have legal standing. Call your lawyer if you want to challenge it." He stayed silent. With every photo, the scale of his mismanagement became painfully clear. Revenue losses were worse than the documents he submitted to the board. Longtime clients had left after disrespectful calls and broken promises. Employee turnover was higher than reported, with departures mislabeled as retirements or voluntary exits. Claire sent everything to Kate and Jennifer in real time. Brian hovered behind her, trying to defend himself. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under," he said. Claire didn't look up. "You're under pressure because you created the problems," she said. She closed the final folder and walked out without another word. The next day, Claire met Robert from the Chicago Investment Group at a downtown restaurant. She handed him the full dossier of Brian's failures. Robert flipped through each page, growing more serious with every new document. "This is far worse than we suspected," he said. Claire slid her proposal across the table. "I can fix it," she told him. "But I need a board seat and full operational control." Robert read the first few pages and nodded. "You'll have your chance at the meeting." 2 weeks later, Claire walked into the boardroom with Kate and Jennifer at her side. Brian arrived late, breathless and irritated, taking the seat at the head of the table until Robert gestured for him to move. Claire stood and presented everything: declining revenue, client losses, safety violations, and falsified reports. No emotion, no dramatics, just clear facts. Then she outlined the recovery plan, the new structure, and the oversight she required as acting COO. The board listened in heavy silence. When she finished, Brian exploded, claiming she didn't know the business. But the evidence spoke louder than he did. Board member Walsh leaned forward. "Claire left because this family didn't treat her fairly," he said. "Brian, you made that clear. Now she's offering to save what you've almost destroyed." Kate added calmly, "Her plan has safeguards. If she fails to meet benchmarks, the board can remove her." Brian had no such oversight. The room shifted. Robert stood. "I move to approve Claire's proposal in full." Another board member seconded it. 6 hands rose, enough to carry the vote. Brian stared around the room in shock. "Dad won't approve this," he whispered. "He already did," Robert replied. After the meeting, Claire spent the next months repairing everything Brian had broken. She paid overdue vendor invoices, reinstated safety protocols, and brought in an outside inspector who found 17 violations. "How did he let it get this bad?" the inspector asked. "Neglect," Claire said simply. She authorized every fix immediately. She met with old clients, apologized on behalf of the company, and earned back a trial contract with Patterson Industrial. Slowly the company stabilized. People stopped whispering in corners. New hires came in. Former employees asked about returning. 8 months later, Claire was in a strategy meeting when her assistant announced Brian was in the lobby asking to see her. He allowed him in. He walked into the room looking thinner, exhausted, and defeated. "I need a job," he said quietly. "Nobody will hire me. The house is in foreclosure. Please, anything." Claire looked at him for a long moment. "You called my clients and told them I was unstable," she said. "You tried to get me erased from the trust. You sabotaged this company for years." Kate placed a printed log on the table, every harassment attempt documented. Brian's voice cracked. "I know. I messed up. I'm desperate." Claire stood and walked to the window overlooking the production floor. Workers moved steadily, machines ran safely, and the company she rebuilt was alive again. She turned back to him. "You're going to walk out of this building," she said softly. "You're going to rebuild your life the same way I had to rebuild mine, with nothing but yourself." He tried to speak, but she raised a hand. "Do not contact me, my wife, or this company again." Security escorted him out as Claire watched silently. When she sat back down, Kate squeezed her hand. "You okay?" she asked. Claire nodded. "I'm not their backup plan anymore."